Hello and welcome to Lasting Legacy. I'm Martin Sung. This season we'll meet businesses with one thread in common, a strong family at the top. Today we meet the Tanoto family, powering resources giant RGE. Whether it's their plantation in Indonesia's Riau province, their foundations based in Jakarta, or corporate headquarters in Singapore, the first and second generation of Tanotos are working together to grow the empire that their founder, Sukanto Tanoto, built from scratch. The roots of RGE go back to 1967 in Medan, Indonesia, where a young Sukanto Tanoto honed his business skills. A tough family situation forced him to take over his father's spare parts supply business, and it was from his hometown Medan that he started his entrepreneurial journey. RGE, or Royal Golden Eagle, previously known as Raja Garuda Mas, was formally registered in the early 1970s. And Sukanto's start in building the resources giant was in the plywood business.
During the 70s, the Indonesian government go through rapid economic development and expansion. There's a lot of development projects. So they need plywood. So why they export round logs to Singapore, to Taiwan, to Korea, to Japan, but they also import plywood for their own use. So we noticed it, so we say, why not we produce plywood domestically? That's where we start to build a plywood mill, export round logs.
From plywood, Sukanto branched out into palm oil as well as pulp and paper.
The plantation is a very long-term business. Take 5-10 years, it takes 3 years to grow up, start producing, and it takes some years to go to the optimal level. That's business we have. So during palm oil and grow the tree, and subsequently we also convert the tree, produce pulp, produce paper.
Today, RGE is a resources heavyweight with operations spanning 7 groups and a growing presence in Southeast Asia, China, India, and Brazil, and assets exceeding $18 billion.
It's been a whirlwind of 50 years from 1967 to 2017. What has amazed me is the passion that still drives him the last 50 years and what still drives him now.
From that humble beginning, he's managed to build a business that's grown from the local level to the national level to regional and then global. And I think the biggest lesson that I learned from him is that sense of perseverance and hard work. That entrepreneurial spirit is something that we appreciate and we look forward to preserving in the future generations.
And it was through tough times like the Asian financial crisis in 1997-98 that tested his perseverance. The biggest lesson he learned from that, why cash is king.
At that time, our asset in Indonesia is no value. So we still have a venture with European paper maker in joint venture in China. So they are interesting to buy, we're 50-50 joint venture, they are interesting to buy our interest. So at the end we come to agreement, we divest that venture, sell, we bring in almost $1 billion back to Indonesia during the Asian financial crisis, finish our project. That is where I think it was a right strategic decision, short-term pain, long-term gain.
The decision to divest their Chinese venture during the Asian financial crisis wasn't an easy one, and until today, Sukanto still feels bad about that decision. But today, RGE is a lot stronger because of some of the tough calls he's had to make.
A lot of time, being an entrepreneur, a lot of time, you are not ready. A lot of business I'm in is the first time I do that. So how do I catch it? If you don't know, ask question. If you don't know, find someone who know, some talent, work for you. A lot of time people become entrepreneurs, they say, stop it, I cannot do. It starts from mindset, I cannot do and so on. For me, if I have the opportunity, I think I have a very good case study, business case study, a business case to successful in that business, I try to find the talent, trying to find, go for it and build up the resources over time, build up the understanding, build up the competence. So eventually, the business will grow and mature.
But building the business up was a team effort. Sukanto and his wife worked together to grow RGE in the early days, and during their younger days, the four Tanoto kids spent a lot of time on the plantations, observing their parents at work.
I spent 4 or 5 summers actually in Kerinci in Rayon, for example, or in the plantations. And it was fun as a young kid, being in nature, being fascinated by large structures, wearing hard hats, going through the different canals and the rivers. It was really enjoyable. And for me at that point in time, it wasn't about a business. It was about enjoying nature around us.
Growing up, we always go to back to the field, to the plantation, to the factory. So we always have this very strong emotional connection to the business. So we've always known, even when we were working outside, that we would come back to the business to help in whatever capacity that we can.
But Tanoto policy meant they had to gain experience outside before coming back to the family business.
I graduated from Wharton, and Wharton is a very pre-professional school, and it's all about the internships and the jobs after the career, and that was what drove me. I really wanted to understand and prove to myself, what am I able to do on my own 2 feet? And being in Bain, it's incredible. I was able to learn a lot of new methodologies and processes working with the best of companies in the world. Working in Bain allowed me also to become much more broader in my exposure. And coming back to the family business 2 years on, it gave me perspective.
In my case, I worked in Morgan Stanley based out of Hong Kong covering China, and that was a very exciting time for investment banking because the markets, I mean, China was booming then. And contrary to being based in New York, where you may do a little bit more analyst type of work, there they trust a lot of the juniors to also handle clients, which I thought was really fascinating. I learned a lot about how to manage relationship with the Chinese stakeholders, which I eventually used and applied when I was a salesperson for the family business based out of Shandong in China.
Because it can easily be renewed and then
Sharing the last name as the founder doesn't equate to a leadership role. Each of RGE's business units is run by a professional CEO. And for non-family members like RGE Vice Chairman Bae Soo Kyang, he's very much aligned with what Sukanto has outlined as some of the core values.
I like the group that it is, because it's a private owner, he takes a long-term perspective of the business, and this is manifest in the business model of the 5 C's, doing what is good for the community, what is good for the country, what is good for the climate, what is good for the customers, and what is good for the company, So it's a very holistic model on a long-term perspective.
Coming up, why being part of the family doesn't necessarily mean getting a head start in the family business.
Working bottoms up is the core value of our family business. We have to work our way up.
And we head to the heart of RGE's operations in Indonesia's Riau province, where youngest son Anderson is also spearheading the company's sustainability efforts. Almost 25 years ago, Kerinci was a village with just a little over 200 households. Located in Riau province, it's known for its abundance of natural resources. Today, it is home to RGE's integrated pulp and paper manufacturing operation, as well as a hub for its subsidiaries April and Asian Agri. It is a thriving town with a population of just over 100,000 people. And credit goes to the company's founder, Sukanto Tanoto, for developing the community as he developed his company.
Anything we do in any business we start, first we start anything good for community, and anything good for country, then will be good for company. That your business can be sustainable. But if you are don't care about community, don't care about your country operate, it will not sustain. It's very simple.
We work in a land-based resource business, and community is integrated as part of our core strategy. For example, in the Kerinci Central Nursery, we work with 250 of our partners and communities around the area, and they work in our nursery here. We work in collaboration with a lot of local suppliers to ensure that they're part of our supply chain. Including them as part of our supply chain is also a good business strategy, as this business is as much ours as it is theirs as well.
This is the backyard of the youngest of the Tanoto clan, Anderson, who's worked here for the last 4 years.
Working bottoms up is a core value of our family business. We have to work our way up. We have to understand the operations, and nursery is at the heart of everything we do, growing seedlings and planting trees. The thing about nursery and agriculture, it's all about various opinions. Sometimes to be able to measure things by science is not so simple, and we have to get the best people with best experiences, talent we bring from South Africa, from Brazil, from Indonesia, to actually collaborate together to solve issues on the ground.
Patience is very much a virtue for Anderson, who has to oversee an operation that takes years to realize a return. But it gives him a unique perspective on the future of the family business.
It is inherent in our business because we do businesses there 5 to 7 years. It takes us about 5 years to grow these eucalyptus seedlings to real forestry. So we think short term, our business is not a short term business. We're inherently a medium to long term business. And sustainability is integral because we look at longer investment cycles.
And this has come under growing regional scrutiny in recent years as forest fires engulfed much of Southeast Asia during the slash and burn season, which is typically in the summer months of July and August. Under Anderson's leadership, RGE has developed a framework for its own sustainability practices with a strict no-burn policy.
Fire, it's a very tough topic to discuss in Indonesia. I think the last 3 years has been very challenging in this region. Thankfully, in most of our operations, we've been performing quite well because we've always taken a community-based approach to fire prevention. So we engage all the communities that work around us, and we provide an incentive for them not to burn. We give them 100 juta per village if they have no fire incidences in their area. And beyond that, we actually give them an alternative. So we have a hotline that's set up for our company. They can call anytime, 24 hours, 7 days a week, to actually log their requests for agricultural assistance. You provide them a carrot and you provide them an alternative. That's how you solve fire issues in Indonesia.
Since the program was implemented 3 years ago, RGE has seen its fire rates reduced by 95% in the areas they operate in. And they're also working with counterparts like Wilmar, Sime Darby, and IOI to scale up these efforts. The company also made a big commitment to COP21 in Paris to commit to a 1-for-1 conservation to plantation. With a mass of 400,000 hectares, or an area close to 6 times the size of Singapore, its conservation area almost matches its commercial plantation area. Sustainability aside, another area which Anderson has pushed heavily into is to introduce technology to its forestry management operations.
It's incredible. We use fixed-wing UAVs and quadcopters to actually fly over our plantations to analyze some of these pictures. Previously, we were using planes that cost $1,500 per hour to fly, and we could only fly once every 5 years. Conversely, of course, in these drones, we're flying twice a year, and the coverage that we get, the cost that we can get it at, this leaves an element of my mark as well in the business.
And leaving a mark on the future for the Tanoto family, it's more than just conservation and the community they operate in. It's also about educating the next generation. Just ahead, why Sukanto Tanoto's achievements aren't just about the bottom line.
Philanthropy is a part of our DNA, yeah, business-wide and family-wide.
When the young Sukanto Tanoto started on his entrepreneurial journey 50 years ago, he laid the foundations for what RGE is today. But he didn't just plant the seeds for his palm oil business, he also planted roots in the community and showed the next generation that doing good is also good business. At this preschool in South Jakarta, kids from 2 to 6 years of age attend classes daily. With a student-teacher ratio of 1 to 5, this is what the locals call an early childhood care and education facility, or plywood. And Sukanto Tanoto's second youngest child, Belinda, is the main driving force behind the Tanoto Foundation's programs.
What we do at the Early Childhood Center is to train the caregivers, and that's a philosophy that we believe at the foundation, is to invest in the people. So we don't just do the infrastructure, because, I mean, that's the easy thing, right? To build infrastructure is the easy thing. It's actually changing the people's mindset, building their capacity, working with them over the years to empower them.
The plywood program works to improve the quality of early childhood education centers in both rural and urban areas. In the Indonesian capital, Jakarta, the Tanotos partner with 7 plywoods, while across Sumatra, it is working with just over 100 of these facilities.
And I think there's a statistic that says if you invest $1 in early childhood, it returns $16 later on in life. So, I mean, and you can imagine, it's called the Pac-Man equation, where if you intervene early, the gap is very small, but as you grow older, then the gap becomes like that. So the amount of money that you need to intervene at the early stage versus the amount of money you need to intervene at a later stage, it's quite a significant difference. So that's why we think early childhood is very important. And the scale of the problem in Indonesia, it's tremendous, right? We consistently rank the lowest, if not one of the lowest, for international assessments, for math, for science, for reading. And we believe that the key to addressing that issue would be to work with the teachers, to work with the principals.
The Tanoto Foundation started in 1981, and as RGE has evolved, so has the foundation's mission. Initially, it was more on the local level and setting up schools and working with the teaching community. But today, the programs are more structured and systematic. The foundation has also scaled up, and there's a full-time team also working with government and other stakeholders.
I think what started out as a charitable giving over time becomes more structured and more systematic and more strategic. And at the moment we alleviate poverty through 3 pillars, so education, empowerment, and enhancement. Our philosophy in the foundation is that it's very important to listen to the stakeholders on the ground. So we often go down to speak to the teachers, to the parents, to the principals, to really understand what is the problem, what are the levers or the leverage points that we can use to unlock that value, unlock that social value.
And a lot of that philosophy stems from Sukanto's own upbringing, where his education was cut short due to economic circumstances and family responsibilities.
Philanthropy is a part of our DNA, yeah, business-wise and family-wise. Family-wise, we are actually gratitude we have today.
When I was younger, my parents, on my birthday, they never celebrated my birthday. We always celebrated our birthday, but they never threw a party for me. Instead, they take me to the orphanage because they say the more you have, the more you need to share. And I think if future generations can understand that, have that sense of gratitude, have that sense of groundedness, of understanding why we need to listen to the stakeholders, then I think we'll be in a good place in terms of having future generations as stewards of the business and stewards of the family values.
It's those values that continue to guide RGE as it celebrates its 50th year in business, as it continues to grow into a global player in resources.
A big part of our RG50 is going back to our values. And we talk about our 6 values that always stay with us as a family member, as well as all our employees. We work as a complementary team, and this is something that is very important. We do not work as a team for the sake of a team, but we complement each other with different skill sets. We take full ownership in everything we do, and that is bottoms up and top down as well. Integrity is a whole very important principle that we hold on to, especially as we operate in emerging countries like Indonesia, China, and Brazil. We invest in our people and people development. Talent development is a big part of our business. We know that for a business of our size, we cannot do this ourselves. And there's the last two values that we hold on to is continuous improvement. And the last one is being close to our customer. Because of our integrated value chain, tissue culture lab to nursery, all the way down across to our forestry and now paper products.
With a footprint in many developed and emerging markets across the world, there isn't a specific strategy on where RGE is looking for its next investment. It's more about seizing the right opportunity at the right moment.
We continuously are looking for opportunities in Indonesia and outside the region across the global landscape. For us, we don't have a tactical push for a specific country, but it's the opportunities that lie and our integration as a business. I mean, if the best part of our business requires us to expand to Brazil or in China or in Canada, we're ready to do so because our organization is international. And that's being geared to seize the opportunity moving ahead.
When it comes to succession planning, it's a topic that the family has discussed since the children were in their teens. And it's clear to the Tanotos that keeping it in the family isn't as important as finding the right people to put in place.
I think if we can institutionalize that by putting in the best people in place, whether they're family members or not, making sure that the culture is also ingrained, whether it be teamwork or a sense of ownership in the people, and investing back in our people, I think that will be the role, that will be the biggest contribution as stewards of the business for this generation.
Succession planning is a business succession planning for us. Like any large businesses, we go through a very clear individual development program. So succession, it's not about having a family member running the company. It's who's the best person to be able to run the company. And then you work your way accordingly. So we don't differentiate professional managers or a family member that's working in a company, but it's capability-based rather than entitled-based.
And for its founder, Sukanto, it's as much about the next generation as it is about the 60,000-strong workforce in the wider community that RGE operates in.
I really would like to have our business can continue, grow, and as our defined purpose, bring better people life through sustainable resources development. And then we are sustainable and useful to society and provide good and service to improve human life, people's life.
Sustaining people and the planet are what will guide RGE in the future, even as the Tanoto family looks ahead to the next 50 years of growing the resources business to even greater heights. And that wraps up this episode of Lasting Legacy. I'm Martin Sung. Thanks for watching.
Lasting Legacy, brought to you by UOB Private Bank.